All right. Alrighty. Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict. I don't even know if this is working. Hang on one second. Hang on. Amber, I've never had a guest during my intro music before. Are you there? Right now you have very little. Oh yeah, that's because I'm talking through. Fixed it. Is that better? Weatherwatch says, for you to come through on my game. Weatherwatch says you're doing what you do every time we start the podcast. So.
Yeah, that's much better.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Amber. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict. There I am, actually, and I am showing you what I see. So this top little corner window is the view that I see as I'm watching everything else. So if we're watching other courts, like I don't know, if we're watching Stu over here, try to find the car. This is how I watch court all day, every day. Plus, I have 4 other screens, which you can see in this view here. So this is how we do things over here. I'm going to transition back so it just doesn't get confusing. I'm going to show you the regular output. We'll do program out instead of multi-view. So it looks like this, a little bit cleaner for everybody. Welcome. We have a lot of people. The green room is full. So to make that happen, I have to go here and turn that off. And now we're going to start inviting some people in. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to invite you in. Once we get a couple people in, we're going to fill the spots, and I will ask you to turn your camera on, make sure your mics are working. And then I'll rotate people out. So in and out, you'll be in for a little bit and then out, and it's going to be great. So as long as we can all behave and be good, I'm not going to put people in that I don't see a camera for, or that I can't just verify that things are working. So let's start. We have Vicky. Vicky is here. Hey, Vicky, welcome. I think I can hear you.
I muted just while I was waiting. Have you got me now?
Gotcha. Now we're good. I see Angela on here. No camera for Angela, but I know Angela, so I'm going to add her. Audio only. So Angela is just going to talk like a ghost. Allison, do you have a camera? I see Braxton is hard at work. Braxton, welcome. We've got you as well. And then Johnny,
hello.
Do you have a camera? I see Allison now. Let's add Allison as well. Welcome, Allison.
Hi. This is so cool.
I need to move this so I can see you, so I'm not looking off the screen all the time. So just 1 second here. We're going to take camera 7 down. Sorry, guys. Just talk amongst yourselves.
I'm just trying to figure out if I can stream the stream of the stream.
It's like an Inception question. I think the answer is yes. It's just whether or not it will look good is the fun part. Okay, so give me just 1 second. Let's get this over on my screen. Now I can look forward and see you all instead of look off the screen and see you all. All right. I see. Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep an eye. I know there's some people who tried to pop in and had to step away. That's fine. I'll keep an eye on the green room as people come and go. That's all right. But where are we? So right now we have, let me put labels back on so I can remember everyone's name. It's mostly for my benefit, not for you. But we have Braxton, Allison, Vicky, and I am Recovery Addict, or Scott, as you could call me. Allison, let's start with an introduction there. Tell us who you are and where you are, I guess, as specific as you trust the internet to.
Sure. Hi, I'm Allison. This is so cool. I'm usually in Maryland. I actually just came down to our beach house in Delaware, so I'm currently in Delaware. So yeah, this is my only fan.
Wow, we went there already. Allison with her OnlyFan is in the bottom left corner. Welcome, Allison. Braxton, quick intro. Can I check? Does somebody have music on in the background just to make sure we can
Oh,
turn
that
that
might
off?
be.
It will get us a quick strike. Thanks. Braxton.
Hello. Yeah, it's awesome to be here and, be on camera rather than just a voice.
I like the shirt. I'm a big fan
Oh.
of purple, by the way,
Right?
and it looks good.
Yeah.
You are hard at work, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So if you suddenly have to cover up, throw something over the monitor, we'll know the boss came in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, awesome. Vicky, I see you've got your YouTube studio there background behind you. Congratulations, by the way. You reached a threshold. I think you became monetized. Is that what I heard?
Almost monetized.
Have memberships. You can have memberships.
I got the memberships and the super chats, so that was cool. Thank you very much. You helped a lot with that. The monetization, I think, is still like 400 and something away, something like that.
It's coming.
I remember.
Oh, that's awesome. I assume by thumbs up, thumbs down, nod, shake your head. Everyone want to talk about Karen Reed and the trial, or is there something else that's on your mind that's pressing?
Sure, why not?
Who wants to open up with an intro as to what you want to talk about? Allison's got a big grin, so I think she's got something. Allison, go ahead.
I feel like I'm on a work call and I get nervous, but my personal opinion is I think that she's not guilty, and I hope she gets off. That's my personal opinion.
Can I ask? Are you convinced that she had nothing to do with it, or are you more in the realm of the state hasn't proven it?
I agree that they haven't proven it. I feel like there's a lot that doesn't make sense from their side. I understand. I feel like their biggest thing is like what Lally opened with in his closings with I did it. Like I understand that that's kind of concerning, but also in playing back, like listening to the audios of all of that happening and hearing how frantic and chaotic she was, it's hard to just take what she said and use that as like concrete evidence, because I feel like she was just in a complete state of panic and didn't know what happened. So I feel like it's just really hard to say for sure. So in my opinion, there's way too much reasonable doubt. So
yeah, and it may have been 30 trial days ago that we started hearing a lot of those. That was some of the first testimony we heard, right? Was the reports of people who said, I did it. Did I do it? Did I hit him? Is he dead? All those. To me, I was tracking that, and there were so many different versions of that didn't match up. Like one person said she was yelling this over and over, and one person just said she said it, and she said it 3 times. And it's so different that I'm like, none of them are really agreeing with each other, even though overall they've got the same sort of comment. So that's pretty cool. Braxton. Oh, Vicky's hands up.
So one of the things that I was questioning at the beginning, which I actually saw on the behavior panel, and I don't know if it's been cleared up, but if the last place that she knew he was that house, why did she drive around the neighborhood first instead of going there? But then in contrast, I don't think that she would have left those voicemails if she had done something, because she was still drunk, very clearly.
The 53 phone calls to his phone overnight.
Yeah.
I can see that. Braxton, did I mute you on accident? I muted somebody. There was an audio feedback. Braxton.
I muted myself. I was typing.
Okay.
Those the phone calls, the butt dials. It's possible to butt dial on a modern phone. I will give you that. But maybe not when it's on your nightstand or, locked.
It's harder to butt answer. But that also happened.
Yeah.
A whole butt conversation occurred between the butt dial and the butt answer.
Several.
And that it probably got butt deleted following that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All of the deletions were done by someone's butt. That's all we know.
Yeah. What's his butt? Did it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to Geordie Minority. Welcome. I see 2 OnlyFans. This is a theme here. Geordie, quick intro. Where are you coming from?
I mean, most of you guys should know me. I'm typically the guy in the minority, but haven't paid much attention to chat this I guess trial. I'm pretty sure I'm not in the minority on this one. As you guys know, typically I'm the guy in the chat that's on the minority side, repping the minority people.
So
However,
minority here would be guilty.
yes. Now, to answer your earlier question, I think that you had asked either Braxton or one of us. Sorry for the dog. He's desperately wanting attention as I'm talking to you guys.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
And he's gonna hear that and just think I need to be here even more. But my thoughts are that I'm not completely convinced she's innocent. However, she's definitely not guilty. I mean, if I was on this jury, there's just no way I could find her guilty. It's just too many circumstances. So much of
Too
it
many
is
question marks.
Huh?
Yeah, too many question marks.
Too many question marks and too many scenarios that it could be. The other day, whenever they were talking about, I had never even thought about this, but the whole idea of him throwing the glass at the tail light, I literally hadn't even thought of that until they brought it up, and I was like, wow, that's highly probable. Like, that is extremely possible in my head. Because we don't know their relationship, but I kind of feel that they kind of went at each other, and throwing a glass of the taillight would definitely do the crack. The biggest issue I've had, and I know this may sound crazy to some, the biggest issue I had is I went and did research on the Lexus, what is it? Lexus LX 570?
570, yeah.
And looked up that year, looked up, I wanted to see the tail light, the bulb, and whether, I know a lot of people think all tail lights are white, but they're not. Not all bulbs are white bulbs.
It's an LED tail light, right?
Right, but it's a white bulb.
Okay.
And I have a huge issue with that Ring camera, and her tail light was lit up red, which tells me the lens was intact. There's no going around that. That is what the light bulb is. It's a white bulb, and you would have seen white light if it was not just cracked, and it obviously it wasn't. I mean, both tail lights lit up red.
Let's put a pin in that for just a second if we can, Jordy. I appreciate that. That was a key moment for me as well. We've got Jill joining us as well. Jill, if you want to do a quick, who are you and where are you from?
I needed to stop pushing buttons because I've never done that before, ever. I'm in Utah, northern Utah. Hopefully,
all right.
Grandkids go to the dinosaur park.
Yes.
It's an official invite if you'd like to go.
We'll be in Layton, so I'm very familiar with the Big D Dinosaur Park.
I live blocks away from that, so.
I'm going to be fishing on the Weber River during that, but go ahead.
Right. Anyway, that's just me, retired, old, grandkids.
Can I do just vote all of us? Is there anyone here that feels that she is guilty? No. If there is
I'm
anyone,
unsure.
If there is someone that,
sorry.
Let me just say this. If there is somebody who does feel she's guilty, I would like to hear about it. We're not trying to, we don't need an echo chamber where we all tell each other how right we are. I would like to hear what convinced you. And I'd like, hopefully it's more than just, she just looks guilty. She's got that guilty look about her. But if there's some evidence out there, some pieces that put together that for you make you get past reasonable doubt, I'd like to hear about it. So we'd love to have somebody join to talk about that. But who wants to? I sort of cut Jordy off a little bit. Jill, did you want to share your thoughts specifically about the case?
When I first started to know about, I kind of got into it late. we always lean towards the prosecution, at least, or maybe but I do. Generally speaking, my background is social work. I work as a enforcement. I've been in court thousands of hours, and I know how much work goes into stuff like this. And but then I started to listen to a little bit of what Brandy had to say. I don't even know what we would do without her right now.
She's amazing.
But then, I thought it's possible. It's possible. And I really tried to keep an open mind for probably the first 14 days of trial, where I was just sitting on that fence. But personally, I've seen 3 people hit by cars. All of them were fatalities, personally witnessed. And I know what a car does to a person. And when we started hearing about the injuries, it just didn't fit for me. Even though I tried really hard to keep that open mind, it just didn't fit. And that was before I really knew about, any type of scandal or, there were rumors of cover up, but oh my God, how many times do we hear that? So I don't know. I really tried to kind of think maybe she did. The evidence just isn't there.
Let me, just as a general question to all of you, how important is it as the jury? They've been presented a possible scenario by the state, as well as some possible other scenarios by the defense, third party actors. How important is it that they agree, if they find her guilty, that they agree with the scenario the state laid out? Because honestly, it's a bad scenario, right? It doesn't add up. Do you feel that they can reach a guilty verdict if in their mind they can reach a different conclusion a different method of her hitting her? Does that make sense? Did I confuse the question too much?
Not without.
So I think. Sorry, Maxon.
My thoughts.
I'll let you fight it out. Rock, paper, scissors. Yeah.
There we go. My thought on that is, based on the court's instructions, they lay out what reasonable doubt is. And I think the defense was pretty good at saying, if this happened, that's reasonable doubt. Like, if you think that this is a possibility of happening, that's reasonable doubt. There is one thing they proved in this case, and that is that there is reasonable doubt. That is what the state proved.
And it was snowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And
even that's in dispute. Well, Vicky, what were you saying?
I'd also like to bring up
Woody,
Massachusetts' instruction on reasonable doubt is quite serious to a degree of, moral certainty. That's quite serious when you lay that out in words and look at that. And you have to think to yourself as a juror, okay, morally, can I convict this woman on this where there is nothing but craziness, chaos? Let me see if I can keep this clean. Chaos and craziness going on in this trial. If I was a juror, you could get, I think I could get someone to swing not guilty easier than guilty. I would hang this jury for sure if I was on this jury, without a doubt. There's just, you would have to prove exactly what the state said, in my opinion, or the Commonwealth. And it doesn't seem probable. And Lally bringing up in the end, whatever you call it, when they bring up something right last minute of, his arm was bent this way. That just pissed me off more than anything if I'm on the jury.
That was his response to all the best. Wow, my shirt looks great on this. That is his response to all the best of the experts that we had from the defense. We have like these rocket scientists literally building cannons and reenacting this accident. And his response was, oh yeah, well, what if his arm was bent like this? Right. And that's all he brought. It's like you didn't address anything else.
If you listen to the ARCA guy, when he said and explained so well the way that the arm moves, it still would probably do the same thing. You still would have your arm rotating in. You still, and the fact that they were really going in on it he was thrown 30 feet. Really? Yeah. By his arm getting hit?
both thrown 30 feet. And I'm telling you, you pick them up, stick in a spoon. Like, I'm not kidding. It is gruesome. And that did not fit. Like, there's just no way.
I mean, let alone driving in reverse at 24.5 miles an hour in the snow. That alone is like Superwoman to me. That's crazy.
I wanted
The pirouette.
The pirouette. Yes. Somebody on X did like a little. They put it to like Dance of the Sugar Plum Players or something, and they've got Alan Jackson doing his pirouette move over and over, so it looks like he's just spinning. Oh, it's hilarious. I want to get into the car data. I need like Brandy to help me out, because the car data and the timestamps, it has key cycles that aren't referenced to timestamps. Okay. Which is problematic because they've got a scenario. The state has a scenario that works. Okay, a 3-point turn, the reversing and everything. But
okay, here's my issue with that. The key cycles. Immediately, my first thing was, this is the incorrect key cycle. From the get-go, when they started that testimony, the guy literally said a key cycle is starting the car and then turning it off. That is a key cycle. Never in his testimony did he say, maybe I don't know when it's recorded, blah, blah, blah. No, immediately my thing was, well, this is the wrong key cycle, because there's more than one key cycle between them getting the car. She had to, after the fact, it would have been her getting to John's place.
They would have to leave the car running on the flatbed.
It would have had to.
They would have had to do something really strange that a tow driver probably is not going to do. And the whole it's a key cycle versus an ignition cycle. It's an electric ignition. Okay, yes. They're one and the same in this car.
It immediately put my head into, so they did even more messing with evidence in my head. I mean, it had already been proven that they were, pretty corrupt, and all it did was say, so we also tried to go through and do data and screw with your head even more, because that's all it did to me. That's just, I'm from Southern Louisiana, by the way.
There, you just got picked out by your accent.
Yeah,
love it.
I think that potentially they might have had a good case if they had not said the bent arm thing, because I can see, like, if he's obviously very drunk, she's very drunk, he's leaning over, getting sick, she hits his head, hits a specific part that is enough to knock him out. Then he lands up lying there. Nobody notices because he was bent over on the ground, etc. Maybe you could have led me there.
So you don't think she would have known that she hit him? Is that what you're saying?
Well, she was drunk.
Quite intoxicated.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, she had 9 drinks. That's a lot. I think that she potentially could have actually just literally forgotten everything that happened, because there's also a gap. She says, I got there and then I was looking at my phone and then I turned and drove home. What's happening in that time? Like, she's very consistent with details, and then there's a bit of fuzzy, and that's strange. They could have leaned into that and said, well, why is it fuzzy only there? You know every single thing, when you walked up the stairs, who was there, etc. But you don't know the few minutes when this allegedly happened. That's a pretty big time to be fuzzy.
Yeah. Latecomer Ivan, Mr. Wisconsin. Welcome. Good to have you. Ivan's got his own YouTube channel that he only goes live when I'm sleeping. I don't know. I don't know. One day I'll be on it.
Can you hear me?
If anybody has to go, just wave and disconnect. Don't feel like I'm keeping you here against your will, but for any reason. We can hear you, Ivan. What's your thoughts here? Give us a brief synopsis.
I think I've been mulling over it, and I do believe that it's a bummer, man. I think she's going to be found guilty, and that bums me out. I don't believe it. I don't think the requirements of evidence was presented, but sort of for the reasons I mentioned briefly on the stream yesterday, where I don't know that anybody on that jury wants to live in that town after being the people who set, cop killer free. And I think that pressure and that weight of it's not a tiny town, but it seems to be pretty tight knit. And I think that that's real. And I think that once you start getting into emotional responses, I think things like her saying, I did it, I think those things while they don't have much evidentiary value or much concrete value, I think those things weigh on people when they start thinking about the rest of their lives. And I know that that's not what they should be thinking about when they're in the jury room, but I don't know that you can separate that, completely. So I don't think she should be found guilty. I think the Alberts' negligence of their animal is what caused this. I still feel like, even though it's sort of an outrageous situation, I think that he probably was chased by the dog and slipped and whacked his head, and that's why
So no
he's got
fights.
claw marks. Yeah. So
Let me, since you're wearing a Miller High Life shirt, I thought it would be appropriate to address this question from chat, Ivan.
Oh.
Says, recovered. Can you talk about all the officers were drunk and driving? Makes me so mad these guys are not suspended.
That's a blow, man. Blow.
What's crazy is it's all the young people who were not drinking and driving in this situation.
Yeah, they were the ones that get in the Ubers or had a designated driver. Right. All the old ones, they knew they could handle their liquor. They knew 7 drinks was their max, and at 6 they can drive home. It's 0.28 was what John O'Keefe was at. Karen was right up there. A lot of the police officers were.
Well, the worst of it was it Higgins that went out drinking in his car? Was it Higgins? This is the thing. There's so much that happened in this trial, but one of the Higgins, I think it was Higgins that went out with one of the Alberts, where the gun was left behind in the badge.
Mm-hmm. Called the next day. Did I leave my badge and gun in the car? What did you do in the car where you lost your? Never mind. I don't want to.
What were you doing out in your cruiser drinking? Like that's. Yeah. I just wanted to ask one thing because I noticed this in closing. Lally said I hit him 4 times. Is it me, or wasn't it 3 that the people were saying? Wasn't it? I hit him.
He added up everyone, their testimony, and stuck it together. I think the most we heard was one person said 3 times, but I think he did get like 4 in there. But,
I mean, even that testimony, that just doesn't get me there because that can be phrased as a question. I hit him. I do understand where Ivan's coming from. I was concerned about that if they were going to come out with a verdict yesterday. I was concerned it was going to be guilty. However, with them taking time, I have confidence that they're going to get it right. And I don't know if these people are from Canton, but it seems like, Karen has a lot of support from her fellow, or not fellow. I mean, she's not from Canton, but seems like she has quite a bit of support.
She's not a townie.
Do we know if her support is more local or if it's more of an accumulation of sort of an online following? Because I guess I haven't seen anything from people locally supporting her as much as I've seen. So, I mean, I've seen them show up at the courthouse for sure, but just because you're at the courthouse doesn't mean you're from there. People will drive a whole long way just to be part of something, good or ill. So I'm just wondering if her support is localized or what. I would like to know what the locals seem to think. I'm sure there's people on both sides regardless, but
to that, Ivan, I'm sure there's some true crime tourism going on in there. They've had like 1,000 people out there cheering for her today outside the courthouse. But if you look at the Canton Select Board meeting that we started the day off watching, these were the locals. These are the people from Canton, and there are a lot of people in there that were wearing the free care, and they identified as being from Canton. So I think there is some ground support. I'm not sure if it's support for Karen as much as there are a lot of people that are really upset with the police department, and this was like the last straw for them. But I think there's a fair amount of local for her.
Do you think a not guilty? Do you think a hung jury would mean they retry? I think they have to retry it just because of the nature of the victim. I think they'd have to retry it as many times as it took if it was a hung jury. What do you think?
It's my understanding that the federal investigation is still ongoing. Is that correct? Into this? So
Mhm.
I would be surprised if it come back as a hung jury. I'd be surprised if it went back to court before that federal investigation wraps up, whichever way it goes. And if it does, as some Canton people believe, that federal investigation ends with federal indictments of officials and police officers and things like that. That would definitely change the direction of the court.
But also, lawyers always say that there is seldom a hung jury. It's always like, don't bank on the hung jury. It barely ever happens. And now we've seen 5, I think.
Yeah, we've seen
since I
quite a
joined.
few.
We've picked some winners, though.
This is one where I could see it. If, like I said, if I was on that jury, those 11 others could tell me whatever they wanted. I am hanging this jury. I'm not changing my mind on it. There's no way, morally, when we start bringing in morals, I don't think I could send this woman to prison for murder, any type of murder. For an OUI, absolutely, you can have it on that. But everything else, no.
Let's try to pry into the mind of the jury just a little bit. Allison, you've been quiet, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. Hang on one second. I'll take this. I'll ask you a question first, and while I'm answering this call, I'm going to listen to your answer. The jury asked for the CERT report, which is the State Emergency Response Team or Evidence Collection Team or something like that. It's the state investigators that came down and found all the pieces of taillight. And they dug through, they shoveled through the yard. What do you read into the jury's mindset by that question, if anything? And then if somebody else wants to chime in, feel free.
Okay, so first of all, I think I actually missed watching that portion of it. So what did the jury think about that? Gosh, I don't know. The pieces of the taillight make no sense to me, in my opinion, and maybe that is because I watched it in choppy bits. But if I were on the jury and I'm not a mathematician, the math isn't mathing, and I just can't wrap my head around it. So I don't know. Maybe I just wouldn't be a good juror, but I just think that's good.
Is it any problem to you that the 2 pieces became 5 pieces, or the logs? Is that an issue as far as evidence for you?
For me, yeah. Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Anybody else?
Thanks.
I think they could potentially be looking for adding up the timeline and the measurements as well. How many steps he took, where they found him, the tail light, the glass, the snow, and just trying to see if there's actually anything that matches up, and if there's anything that they could say, okay, well, both sides agree on this one thing, and take it from there. Because yes, the tail light was strange, but also where he was, how many steps he took from the car to that point, or to the door, whichever side you want to look at. If they specifically want that report, there's something that was captured on that first day. I feel like I didn't watch a lot of the beginning because all everyone was talking about in every testimony was the tail light, the tail light, the tail light. I think I know about the tail light. The things that I'm not sure about is more what the scene looked like and where he was in relation to everything else.
Okay.
Did they have the phone data for when he was supposed to be flying through the air? Because that would have been tracked, and that would have shown him moving from one place to another place really quickly.
The Superman jump.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it would be funny.
I think all we got were steps. We only got steps.
for
that
my
time.
thought, if I
No
want
huge leaps.
yeah, and also climbing up and down 3 flights of steps. Let's not forget about that. I would say if it was my perfect jury and I was on that jury, the reason I'm asking for that cert report is because we already decided we're doing not guilty. But what we're doing is doing our due diligence and going through and making sure we didn't miss something. And I mean, maybe another way is, can we see how many pieces were found on that first time? Because that's where it starts to get muddy. You're finding pieces every single time. I mean, it seems like they were taking field trips to 34 Fairview every single day, like it was, some type of mausoleum of
It's
some
like going
sort.
to an arrowhead hunt. He's like, hey, we plowed the field. There's fresh arrowheads to be found. You guys come check out. Got tail light for everybody and nothing to spare.
It's unreal, just unreal how many times they went.
It was. Let me welcome Ada. Ada Brown, thank you very much. Welcome. I have, for all of you, I've turned on the setting that allows you to restream this on your end, on your channel. I know several of you have your own channels. I don't know how that works. You might have to drop out and come back in, but if you need to, you're welcome to do that. I just wanted to make everyone aware that's cool. So if you see this streamed on Ivan's channel or Vicky's or Ada's or something, that's why. Through StreamYard, it lets you do that. It lets both sides stream it on their own channels. And if anyone else wants to join, feel free. The description of this video has a link that allows you to connect.
We need some guilty people in here. Like, well, who are the people
I'm begging,
that think
I'm begging
she's
for
guilty? Where are you?
This is what I can do. I can promise you that we will be very respectful to you and we will listen to your arguments. That's all we ask for anybody. But I would love to have some opinions on the other side. Ada Brown, welcome, by the way. Any thoughts? Or you're just enjoying the live streaming on both sides. I can see that. You're muted. Still
I
muted.
can barely stream myself. I have no idea how you would restream somebody.
It worked, though.
It worked.
It worked for me.
It's through StreamYard, Ivan. You basically click this. I think you need a StreamYard account. And you link your social media account to StreamYard, and then when you join as a guest using your login, you can also stream to your account at the same time. So it would be live on your channel at the same time. Well, we can talk about that later. Ada, did you have anything trial related about this? I can't hear you. Still muted.
Yes, you can now.
Yep.
I was trying to do all my things, and I didn't want to say something I shouldn't. Where are y'all at in this? Where are y'all talking? Because I just hopped in.
Well, we're really doing a free for all because it's verdict watch. Everything's on the table for the Karen Reed trial. If there's anything else court related, we can wander off the topic a little bit, but we've made it sort of like an open forum. You can come and go as needed, and we'll just roll with the conversation that way. We just ask everyone to keep it brief and keep it respectful, and we're
good. My whole thing is I started this jury with trying to figure out. I mean, I came in blind. I didn't really know anything other than she was accused of killing her boyfriend, who was a cop. And I have tried very, very hard to find reason to find guilt. When I listened to the prosecution, I'm devil's advocate. When I listened to the defense, I'm devil's advocate. There was not much devil's advocate on the defense side at all. There are just a few minor things that concern me. A lot of people I think are putting weight in the phone calls, which at least the people that I'm with, putting a lot of weight in the phone calls and how angry she was. And I'm like, how many times have we been in relationships where we have blown up and lost our cool and said things? Sorry, women, we're more prone than men. But
I can't answer. I can't nod. I can't say yes. That's a catch-22, Braxton. We're just going to sit here. We can't agree with you on that.
It just appalls me that this even got to trial.
Let me ask you. You bring about the evidence, and first, let me welcome Brybear. Welcome. Good to have you here. I'll go to you in just a second. Let me ask this. Through this trial, is there any evidence And by evidence, I'm talking about log, some sort of track or record, vehicle equipment record, phone. So, is there any evidence that you just on face value through this trial?
No. I guess, as you will know, I have a vast background, and the mechanics really bother me with the vehicle. I'm much older than I look. I'm 50 plus. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But in my 20s, I had a significant that had an automotive repair shop and also a car lot. I did Bondo work. I used to replace headlight, taillights, bumpers. I did a lot of mechanics. And day one, this theory with the headlight never settled with me. First of all, it's not glass, it's plastic, and plastic doesn't shatter into 45 pieces. Not that kind of plastic, not with that kind of impact.
Maybe if it was shot with a cannon.
Yeah. But also, as a first responder, EMT, firefighter, I've seen a lot of impact wounds. I've seen multiple people hit by vehicles. In fact, I witnessed one. And that doesn't compute. It doesn't, the law of physics doesn't fit.
It's not
The
mathing.
entries don't fit.
Doesn't add up.
You must acquit. No, I'm kidding.
Let me jump to Brybear really quickly. Brybear, first of all, welcome. Brief introduction. Where are you connecting from?
I'm in Connecticut. I'm a critical care respiratory therapist, and I've been very immersed in this trial since the very beginning. And I have to say, I have gone back and forth, to use one of Trooper Proctor's words, waffled. I was actually at a point where I thought, you know what, she probably hit him. Probably wasn't on purpose, but maybe an accident. There was maybe some of that taillight at the scene, and they maybe padded evidence. Maybe they just added a little bit more to make their case better. But then we got to the end. And when those two gentlemen from ARCA, who weren't paid by the defense, who obviously were brought in by the Department of Justice, said it just couldn't have happened that way. So essentially where we're left is she didn't hit him. So she's not guilty. Maybe they could get her for driving while intoxicated, by extrapolating all that stuff, which I'm still not on board with either, because again, the expert from that lab said, yeah, I came up with these numbers, but we're not going to certify them because we just can't do that. But these are the numbers I came up with. So that's pretty much how I've ended with this case. Not guilty on all counts.
So let me back up one more second. Your profession, one more time?
Respiratory therapist. I work in adult critical care.
All right.
And just one other piece with that, I see motor vehicle trauma very frequently.
That's what I was going to ask. Just in your own viewpoint, does that add up?
The injuries to him do not reflect what my experience is with someone being hit at 25 miles an hour. Yeah. And plus, using common sense, those marks on his arm are dog bites. I don't care what anyone says. I've seen dog bites in the emergency room as well.
That is probably one of the most hotly contested items of this case, is the source of the injury on the arms. I don't know why that became probably because it points to the finger of blame of the Alberts, right? It puts some accountability, even if it's just from being a pet owner, on the residents of the home instead of just on Karen Reed.
Well, because it's so obviously not road rash either. Anybody who's ever seen road rash or seen the effects of being, slid across, that isn't how that presents itself. So anybody who's ever dumped a bike or a motorcycle or even just slid off of a sled in the snow or anything, those aren't the marks that you would get as a result of anything mimicking road rash. So I think that's the other part. I think it's obviously part to do with the Alberts, but I think anybody who's ever seen on their child or on themselves road rash knows that that's not what it looks like.
Yeah.
I want to know how nobody could find that rehome dog. Not even Karen's private investigator. It can't be that difficult.
That dog is not in Vermont. Okay.
I know
Do you
where
think
it
it's
is.
over the rainbow?
Ada
It's
has
in the
the
witness protection program. It'll return home after trial's over.
with a new name.
With a new name.
Yes.
I want to comment on Bear's comment about the arm and the dog.
Okay.
Recovery addict, do you remember what I talked about with the glass?
I don't remember what I did this morning. This is a
When
trick
I
question.
saw the glass the first time they pulled it out of the bag, I said that if it's not a dog bite, which I'm still on the big fence. I was a dog groomer. I've been bit many a times, but I was on the fence on. Is it possible that the glass is what we use? Now, if you hit somebody with a heavy enough glass, you can do some really good damage.
Mhm.
But could the broken glass be defensive wounds with somebody trying to strike him with a broken glass? Because you got
I don't
poke and
think
drag. or
I
you
don't
got
think the
drag.
glass could have been the head wound, but
Huh?
as far as his arm, actually, I was thinking if the state is they're really buying into this, the taillight had to do this damage on the arm, right?
Mm-mm, couldn't
Because
have.
that takes the dog out of the picture. But
Mhm.
wouldn't it have been easy to? Okay, here's my thoughts. If start with the scenario, if the taillight caused this and you need to prove that it caused it, I would take the taillight. I would take the pieces that are still fixed to the housing, because they're going to be the ones that are firm enough. They're not giving way. They're not shattering and moving out of the way as the elbow hits, but they're firm enough to cause some sort of scrape. Okay. Because they remain fixed on one side and it scrapes across the body. So you should be able to literally hold that picture of his arm right up to the taillight and say, look, here are the sharp parts and where they match up. And here's how they scraped across. And because it was just one impact, there should be enough sharp parts to make all those injuries.
Exactly.
They didn't do that.
The problem
I'm
was,
just trying to see how the glass fits in the picture. It's big hypothetical.
I just don't think the Commonwealth was able to prove any of it. So for me, I just ignore it. There was no DNA in the tail light. That's an issue. If you're trying to say that the tail light is what did it, road rash, which honestly I don't think the Commonwealth got to until midway through the trial. In my head, I was like, how was he killed? I mean, all I could think about was the only way I could see him being killed from this is his body getting rolled over by the SUV. That's the only thing I could imagine where this would be, him just not getting knocked, just given the circumstances. But then when we got to the point where, there were no injuries below the neck, what is going on here? Like,
would there be some internal bleeding being hit by a vehicle at that speed, or just the impact of the force being launched 30 feet? I mean,
a bruise or something?
Go jump off a second-story building. No, don't do that. But you're gonna have some. 30 feet. I mean, to be launched that far is, especially with the impact of the vehicle at 25. I mean, you can total a vehicle far less than 25 miles an hour, way less than that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's sad, and I hate to have to bring this up, but I don't know if anyone has hit a deer in a vehicle before. Okay, but the weight of a deer and the weight of a human are somewhat similar. Their body, the mass is located a little bit differently. But imagine, if you've got a friend, I've got a sister who I think she hits deer as out of habit. I don't know. They find her. She finds deer, but it can total a car. And you don't have to be doing 55, 60 miles an hour to have that happen. There are dents all over the place. That everywhere the body of the deer hits the vehicle, there's an impact mark. There's blood. There's scrapes. There's
get a deer, a turkey will total your windshield, shatter your windshield. I mean,
Talking about totaling a car by hitting something. I'm from the South. I've totaled a car
I am too.
from hitting an armadillo. So it is possible
An armadillo is just a possum wearing body armor. You know
Yes,
that, right?
but they are very
It causes
hard,
damage.
and they will destroy underneath your car, big
Mhm.
time. Just in case you were wondering, but I hit one at 50 miles an hour. It did not go well for either of us in the end. The armadillo RV, because I had a destroyed car after the fact. It just destroyed all my suspension, everything, and the car was totaled in the end.
So I
But he was
actually
drunk.
hit. I actually
Sorry.
hit. I was going forward at the time, not reverse, and it was 25 miles an hour because I was just exiting the village, and I hit a deer in a glancing blow off the front right of my car, similar to what now that I'm thinking about it, similar to what they're saying. The Commonwealth is saying how John was hit, and there were chunks of deer all down the side of my car. You know, it wasn't just, a light got broken and I went about my merry way. There was $2,000 worth of damage and deer hurt, hair and flesh on the car. So to have nothing left on that car except that teeny tiny hair that made it 60 miles through a blizzard. So
Yeah,
no dents,
unreal.
no real dents on the car.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I'd expect some body damage.
I want
on
to ask
both.
a question. We have the vehicle of John O'Keefe. I was waiting for them to enter that into evidence. They never matched them up, number one. But once again, being a body girl, when did they actually photograph that car? That car was detailed to the max.
That was exactly my
And they
thought.
showed the wrong part of the vehicle. So when I blew up the back shot, it was flawless and perfect. And I'm thinking, did somebody do some repair on this vehicle? It was too pristine. If they had taken the pictures right after the snow and after he had passed and nobody moved the vehicle, nobody touched the vehicle. You remember on Karen Reed's vehicle, once the snow melted, when they took the close-up to the hair, you could see the water particles all over the black of the vehicle. You can see the water spots. Well, you would have seen the same thing on his car. But it was, you know how you take the Armor All and you do the black or whatever they do nowadays? It was too pristine. So I want to know when those were taken and why they didn't match them up. Because my mother has the same vehicle as Karen Reed. And I got to tell you, that is high, but the bumper would have clipped his legs, probably would have damaged his knees at minimal, would have caused bruising. I don't care how high the headlight is.
There's a picture. There's a picture of the car that you can see. You're looking head on at the back corner, and the far corner gives you a great profile. You're looking exactly the profile, and the taillight does stick out a tiny bit further than the bumper, but they're almost, they're within an inch or so of each other. And so you can't
It depends on the angle in which you're hit.
Yeah.
And
So
our
what I was thinking is if he was leaning over and it hit his head, there wouldn't necessarily be a bump. Hits his head, he's drunk, falls, again, connects, and he just is like a little concussed, and it's the hypothermia. That also because he's drunk people are floppy, they get less injured in accidents often.
I thought about that. That would account for a couple things, like the phone going with him, like he was trying to get it out of his pocket. He's like, "Oh, I'm injured," and he stumbles over there. But the testimony we got from the doctor is that the blow on the back of the head that was so hard that it actually shattered some of the bones in his eye was an incapacitating blow. That moment means he couldn't have moved on his own at all from then. So, and plus, where are the rest of the injuries if it got hit in the head, right? Even if he was like leaning over, pointed towards the car, and the head was the only thing that got struck. If you can somehow Gumby a crash test dummy into that position and make that work, it would have crushed the neck, the spinal column, The arms would have come up and struck the vehicle and caused damage. There's just I can't build a scenario in my head now that makes him get injured. I can see him throwing the cup at her as they're having a fight. He gets out, he's walking away. She starts driving away. He throws the cup at the car. He's like, "Screw you," type thing. She slams on the brakes, hits reverse to go talk to him, and he gets bumped and falls over. But that puts him in the street, not on the lawn.
But 24 miles an hour, man. Like
I don't think he wasn't hit at 24 miles an hour.
My other issue becomes what Brandy Churchwell said with blood coming down this way. That's not what's happening if you're knocked to the ground. The blood would go to the side, either side, but it's not coming down your shirt. And that is an issue that really no one took on. I just was kind of surprised that no one took on that issue, because Brandy kept talking about that. The shirt had blood and stuff in the front of it, and it's just hard to imagine that gravity would be pulling your blood up and towards the bottom of your shirt. You know,
Ears would have blood in them. I talked a lot about this. I was on car from day one. I saw the blood pattern. I went, "That's a fight. That's a vertical nosebleed." It's not. And the same on the back of the shirt.
even the
And
cuts on the
head and the
face.
eye. There's no way that blood fell. I mean, and the thing is that nobody talked about the fire hydrant. Some people were talking about back. Well, if she did hit him and he hit the fire hydrant, that would be hard enough surface to cause damage to the back of the head. But the problem is nobody tested the fire hydrant for hair, blood, or DNA or anything. That was stupid. You have a potential hard surface that he could have hit. If you really want to prove that she hit him, he fell back, he hit the fire hydrant, she left. That's more plausible than the crap that they're feeding us now.
It still
And
gets
then
them too far away from the fire hydrant. With
yeah,
that
I
blow.
know, but I'm just saying it's more plausible than what we're getting now. And you were talking about the hands. If his arm had hit that vehicle, his shoulder would have been damaged. It could have damaged the collarbone, the neck, not just scratches.
Okay, I'm sorry. Adam is going
Adam
shopping on the
shopping,
live
or-
stream, and I can't
I'm
stop
watching
looking at
this
what
going,
he's buying. We have a
You know,
watermelon.
what?
He's looking at goldfish right now.
Here's
Watermelon.
what's even
Yeah.
better.
I'll do a
My
cart tour.
friend,
Let me welcome Adam. We have Thal, who's audio only, and we also have Allison Alibi from Tennessee. Welcome. Let's start with Allison. Do you want a quick intro where you're connecting from?
Hi, y'all. Allie B. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's let you start, because we've heard from Thal and Adam before, and we know how that's going to go. That might be where we end if we start with them. So what's on your mind, Allison?
Yeah, so I definitely am on the not guilty side. I've heard all that you are discussing with the car and the injuries and all that, but another pure sign for me is just all the shadiness with the text messages, with that one, I can't think of his name, dropping, throwing his phone away and dropping at the military base.
Brian Higgins.
Yes, thank you, Higgins. I think there's just a lot that shows that there was a little bit of corruption. I mean, Proctor's text, I don't know. They say it's not professional, but that's just not normal. I wouldn't think. I would hope not.
Allison, about that, do you believe that it would be possible to have those sort of texts and that conversation with friends, with coworkers, with family, and have it not affect the investigation?
No. And the other really big thing that bothers me is that John O'Keefe is never going to get true justice, because they did not go inside of that house to at least investigate. And that is the biggest frustration I have, is that had they gone in there to at least rule out that there was no foul play inside of the house, I think that would have cleared up a lot. And lastly, I'll say that I have met in the past few months, just randomly, a bunch of people from Boston here in Nashville. They are all Karen Reed fans. and they are they're so pleasant to be around. And I love the Boston accents. And no, but seriously, I do. I feel bad for Karen. I feel bad for John's family. I think it's just a hard situation all around. It really is. Because there's no investigation. That's it. That's my thoughts.
I feel stupid for asking you where you're connecting from, Allison, after reading Allie B from Tennessee.
Nashville.
Sorry about that. It's like Mr. Lally when the guy reads his resume. He's like, "So what school did you graduate from?" He's like, "I just said." I'm like, "Sorry, I wasn't listening."
And was that snow?
Tom, welcome, Tom. Brief intro from you as well, and then we're going to jump to Adam and Thal for a quick thought.
I just I'm over here in Tampa, Florida. So just wanted to bring up one quick story that I said in chat about my brother's friend actually hit a person late one night going about 35 miles an hour that was bent over in the middle of a road that was very dark. He never saw him. So the guy ended up not getting thrown anywhere and actually really ended up going underneath his car, and that's what kind of did him in. So the whole being thrown 30 feet is what really got me confused with the stuff.
It leaves me with trying to solve the problem. Okay, I'm trying to put John there at the car crash, and it leaves us to build conspiracies. That's why some of these conspiracies have come out. It's like, well,
yeah,
maybe that happened, because what we're being told didn't happen, and it's quite obvious. Thanks, Tom. Adam, Thal, which one of you? Thal's voice only. Are you there, Thal? It says well behaved Thal on my end. Let me see if I can unmute him. Nope, he chose to mute himself. So
sorry. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I got a high performance mic and I pulled it out of the closet for this, so I was gonna if it works.
How do we rank? That's awesome.
And I'm not too loud, all right? I'm not
Sounds
killing
great.
anything. Okay,
that's good.
On the where'd he go? The one guy that had the guy that got hit in the middle of the road.
Tom from Florida.
Yeah. Tom. More than likely, what happened was that since he was angled over, his disposition of weight is down toward the ground. So as soon as you have a propelling force behind him pushing him, it propelled him into the ground, not forward. That's probably why he didn't get thrown.
Yeah.
But anyway, now a more interesting question, and it kind of piggybacks on your recovery addict question. Two of them actually. First one is I'd love for the panel to discuss how the jury gets to a guilty verdict. Okay, we all know you're not on the not guilty fence, so am I. But I'd really love to hear your guys' thoughts on what could we use to get to some kind of guilty verdict somehow. That's a really tough question too, because there's so much defeating it. So I understand it's a tough question. And second question, real quick, recovery addict, just real quick. Mm-hmm. Second question, how bad of a butt whooping do you think recovery addict got from his wife for messing her counter up?
You know she's in chat right now, right? Now you're just reminding her. Let me talk to your first one really quickly, and then we'll turn it over to all the guests. The question, if I remember right, I have a short memory, is how does the jury get to a guilty verdict? They have to. If you've been following this case on X, on Twitter, it's probably the most volatile platform. I would say even more so than YouTube. And YouTube's got some pretty volatile people, pretty vocal, but Twitter is just like open, and people have been sharing everything. There are people who are screaming from the rooftops and who watch the exact same thing. They watch the exact same cross-examination by Mr. Jackson, and they come to a different conclusion than I do. I look at that and I look at the closing by Mr. Jackson. I say that was textbook, and they look at the exact same thing and they tweet out, "I've never seen a worse closing." And it means that people are looking at the case like this. They've got their set of the facts. They've got something they accept, and anything that falls outside of that, they won't allow in. So I have to think that if a jury comes to a conclusion to convict where there is reasonable doubt, I am still in the boat that I think, and this sounds crazy, I still think there's a way that Karen Reed did somehow hit him with her car that night.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that nothing happened. Something definitely happened there. It just wasn't the way the state spelled it out. Anybody else have thoughts on that? Vicky, you want to start, and then Jordy?
So I just randomly remembered something. When I was about 19, I actually got hit by a moving car that was going, I just did the calculation, about 40 miles an hour. And I fell back like that on the road, fell back, and all that was hurt was like my arms were a little sore and my elbows were a bit scraped up, but I was fine. So I just wanted to add that. Other than that, how to get to a guilty, I don't know, because I can never think like a jury truly, because they always return the opposite verdict of what I would. So I find it really hard.
All right, Jordy, and then Allison.
I'll tell you how I get to guilty. And I don't think this is doable, and it's not personal, but you have to remove Jennifer McCabe and Michael Proctor completely. If you can remove those two for me, I can get to guilty 100%. Jennifer McCabe, it's just too much that doesn't sit right with me. And Michael Proctor, if he was just had an ounce of smarts in him and just gave it to anybody else, he would have removed so much bias, so many bad appearances. And like we were saying, like I said, there's just no way you're speaking about her like that and you are gonna say that the investigation, what was the word he said? It was I don't know. He said the investigation basically was done well or held to some high standard or whatever. I can't remember the word he said.
It was textbook. It was exactly the way they taught in the police academy.
Yeah, if that's
solo cups and all.
I feel horrible for
I think he did use a lot of solo cups in his police academy. That's all I can say. But Allison, what are your thoughts?
I think I agree with Jordy on getting rid of Proctor and the other one, but also Trooper Paul. I mean, you know, him getting up there and just like literally like sweating, looking like, you know, he's rehearsing something and he looked so just ashamed, or I don't know what the right word is, but like he was not telling the truth. So, so that, or I hate to think of this, but if there are one of those people that is like we've seen on Twitter that had it in their minds that she's guilty from the beginning and they're hard-headed and they won't change for whatever reason, or if there's more corruption with the jury and something really corrupt happened, they were paid, or who knows, then that's how I would get there. Other than that, there's no way.
Yeah.
Confirmation bias, basically.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
We often get accused of that on YouTube, of only listening, or, you know, even only putting the chats up on screen that agree with what I think, right? So I'm constantly trying to seek out the ones that disagree and put them up, because I think the conversation is important. And if I can't see it, I want somebody to bring it to my attention if I'm being narrow-sighted like that. Had another question. I forgot what it was because you guys had some great comments in the meantime. Ivan, welcome back. I see you've brought a friend.
This is Scout. This is my cousin Zach's dog. This is Scout.
Australian sheepdog? My eyes are bad. What?
If my life depended on it, I couldn't tell you. I just wanted to wanted to answer Saul's question, how they get to the guilty verdict. I think that maybe at the end of the day they go with, if it wasn't her, who else would it be? And I know that isn't evidence, but again, I feel as if a question like that presented with, you know, the bits and pieces, because there is some evidence, right? Like, I was going to ask, what if that taillight isn't broken? What do they do? Like, are they able to charge if that taillight isn't broken?
I don't think you can go back in time and document that. They did a good job of accidentally not having those videos for that portion, so we'll never know. But interesting. Lori AZ, I'm going to bring her on as well. Sorry, Lori, welcome. And Mrs.
Hey, everybody.
Mrs. RA is here as well. She's going to chime in. Have you forgiven me for the whole counter incident yet? No.
Okay. We haven't either.
How Braxton
I guess I missed that.
That was a definite no, wasn't it?
It was a no.
Yeah.
Okay, I know how they get guilty. Like, legit. This is, if they come back guilty, I know how, and I'm putting it squarely on Jackson's shoulders, because he went in there and he presented his closing argument. He the whole thing, but especially his closing arguments, he presented it. It's either a cover up or what? You're looking at those verdict pages or what? It's got to be or her being guilty. He set that up, that if they cannot find that it is absolutely a cover up, they're left with only one choice, and it's got to be that she's guilty. And that was bad move.
I don't even remember hearing that.
I didn't cut you off.
Thanks. Sorry, say that
What
again.
does recovery
Roxy or Jordy?
do to the counter?
I was fixing my tractor and I had a part of the carburetor on her kitchen counter, which I thought was appropriate. And apparently I know better now.
I love my kitchen way more than I love that tractor.
It's granite. It's like rock.
Oh, please.
Yeah. Anyway, Lori in Arizona, do you want to share something? You just joined us here.
I do, real quick. I was watching the town hall meeting last night. By the way, everybody needs to show up at their town hall meetings. I'm big on that. And doing, public comment or any meetings actually that are public. I'm used to going in and going to judges' meetings. But it's really important that people attend that. But what I noticed from the townspeople, from the townies, I guess is the term, they didn't have that exaggerated accent, right? I mean, there was some that you could pick it up, but when the McAlberts were on the stand, their accent was just so exaggerated to me after listening to the townspeople last night. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, it's kind of like the McAlberts are the Sopranos of Canton, It was kind of that, it just, seriously, I thought, wow. It just seemed like they were just so exaggerated in their
They're the Murdochs.
speaking their dialect, and compared to what I heard last night from the regular townspeople.
Well, if you saw the video, I'm getting feedback. If you saw the video from the assault, there was a lot of hard accents. That accent, all those people were
right.
real.
It's all about loser.
Yeah. But
it's actually such a hard accent
it was
for
kind
me
of that,
to do.
But the people that were yelling things were from that same group.
We want to go down to the car with a bar and a paw.
Right? And the paw. So yeah, I do
like the sidebar though.
We've been saying sidebar.
The sidebar, and then the law.
Yeah,
the law.
I know.
With an R. At the
and
end.
I actually have relatives that live in Boston, and they're Bostonites, and their accent isn't nearly that exaggerated. It's there, you hear it, but yeah, that was just an observation I made last night watching that. And you know what? I was like, oh, good. A town council meeting where there's a bunch of people and they're going to get up there and talk. And it's important for people to do that. And not that
Hey, all right,
scary.
I'm going to hop off and let somebody else join, okay?
Allison, thank you so much. Appreciate you and the other Allison as well. We've had two Allisons. Thank you. We'll see you.
All right, bye.
For those that do want to join, if you look in the description of this video, there's a link to the StreamYard. It's easy to join. If you've never used it before, you can use it from any phone, any computer that has a camera and a microphone. We just ask you're in a quiet place, no music in the background. Please be dressed appropriately for court, all those things. But
can I add one caveat real quick? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Thal, the voice of Thal. Oh. Go ahead.
People want to see Thal to know if he's hot. That's the question in chat.
Oh God, no, I'm not hot. There's a reason I have a voice for radio. It's because I have a face like a pug. The Eclipsin, I'm behaving myself. I could have said much worse things. I'm being good. What was I going to say? Oh, right. It's going to be the first link, not the second link. Don't make the mistake I made 4 times in a row. Okay. And I know how YouTube works, and I can stream. I know how to do this all stuff. So yeah, if it messed me up, it'll mess you up. So just FYI.
So
Thank
RA,
you.
I do have a question for you about the, what are we on, StreamYard?
Yes.
So if I want to go on our YouTube channel live, can I get the StreamYard link and stuff through you?
Yes. Yes, I can. As a matter of fact, let me.
The second link there down in the description will actually just download StreamYards for you. It'll create an account.
If you wanted to go live with this, is that what you're saying? With this discussion, this panel?
No,
you can
no.
do that. Oh. I'll send you a link.
If I wanted just to go live on the AZDCS Oversight Group channel at some point to, talk about CPS and judges, I can get that.
I can give you a link. It's a referral link. There's a free version. There's a free version of StreamYard, which works for most people. If you want to pay for it, if you use a referral link, I think it gives you $10 off. Then it gives me the $10, to be honest. so
nice.
It helps both of us. But I'll send you a link here. I'll send it on. Send me a quick text to the burner so I have you on the top of the list, and I'll send you a link to that.
Important to remember, folks, that if you use the code for the reduction in price, all proceeds go to Mrs. RA, not RA. Okay, so just it's a selling point.
And then something else real quick. The George Kelly case in Arizona, I did talk to the court this morning.
Yeah.
So Judge Fink has 60 days.
So he's only halfway through that.
It's still under advisement right now. So he has 60 days. I thought it was 30. But,
and you're speaking specifically about the judge decision whether or not to dismiss with prejudice or not with prejudice on the court case for the mistrial. With prejudice meaning they can't bring charges back against Mr. Kelly in that border town shooting. Great. Let's see. I think we might have one more person. Christy.
Hey, you guys, I'm out of here.
All right. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate it. Send me a text and I'll send you that link.
All right. I hope you got my $10.
Thank you.
I have something real quick I want to throw in.
Go ahead.
One, I'm watching on the trial on law and crime right now, and what I find really interesting is the poll that they have up. It's the guilty, not guilty hung jury. There are 71,000 votes, and it is 10% guilty, 83% not guilty, and 8% hung.
I got a theory on that.
Court TV had guilty as well, had not guilty as well, and Court TV is always guilty, no matter what the circumstance. Whatever trial they're showing, it's guilty, and they had not guilty. I've never seen that on Court TV before, ever.
I wanted to say we never got to it. I wanted to know what Braxton's response was to how does he get to guilty.
Oh yeah. I think the only way you can get to guilty while keeping everything in the trial how it is you have to have believed the state the entire time. From openings until closing. Or not until closings, but up until their last witness. Because I saw Rob and Ian talking about the ME. Because they put the ME on last, which is something you rarely do. You want to have the ME up soon so that you can show the body pictures, so you can show all of this. They didn't. They hit it at the very, very end. Now, they could have buried it in the middle, but the problem with doing that is the ME destroys their case every single time. That is one of the best witnesses for the defense. And if they'd put her up first or near the beginning, they would have seen, oh, none of this makes sense. Why am I listening to anything they have to say?
Plus,
so they had to put in.
They also had to defend the Alberts and the McCabe's for the first 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So you have to be on the state's side 100% until the defense's case. and then you have to completely ignore what the defense says.
Yeah.
That is the only way you can get to guilty without removing parts of the trial that they decided to bring in. If they had brought a theory that used, I don't know, maybe all of the evidence that they knew existed, they could have been able to say, well, no, defense, that's not possible because this, and have the theory actually make some sense.
Yeah. Let me thank you, Braxton. I appreciate that. Let me welcome Melpoy, Christy, MA, and Larissa. Let's go in that order. A quick introduction, where you're from, and then we'll give you each a chance to share something here.
Hello.
Hello, Mel.
Hi. I'm in Pennsylvania and addicted to your channel. That's what and untangling yarn all day because I knit, and this is just not fun.
Looks like a cat found that one.
I wish a cat did. The only thing I don't believe there was a big conspiracy. I think there'd be too many people that would have to be in on it for that to even work. I don't know if she hit him or not. I think because the police, this is my dog.
Oh.
I think because the investigation was so messed up that they'll never know what happened to him. I mean, you can come up with 50 million theories. And this is my other dog. And I'm talking, and it's usually silent in here. So they're like, oh, they want
hey,
to watch me.
Something's happening. That's awesome. Thank you, Melpoy. Christy.
Hey. Hi. I'm from Massachusetts, and I was taking a little bit offense of the accent comments earlier. When you get emotional in Massachusetts, your accent gets a lot thicker. My children's accents aren't as thick as mine. It waters down, I think, through the general.
How do I mute?
I can mute you.
Okay, do that.
When living here in Massachusetts, when it first started, you got some news broadcasts that promised us some evidence that really led towards guilty at the very beginning. Woman hits her boyfriend cop. Woman kills her boyfriend cop. Blood and tissue underneath the car of the girlfriend. All this stuff was on the news before anything was back in 2022. So it really led to the public thinking that she's guilty. That's all I knew about it until my sister, she knows that I'm a court junkie. So she sent me the Brandy Churchwell podcast, and I started watching that, and I'm like, well, where's all this evidence that the news said we were going to have? And then I started watching the court trial, and there's no evidence, no blood, no tissue. I mean, I've had a lot of head wounds, and they bleed. They bleed a lot. And so where's all this blood? I mean, nothing on the taillight pieces. It exploded on his arm and scratched up his arm like that. I know German Shepherds. The reason why they use them for police work is to drag the suspect down, and they cannot bite and hold that long. They bite and drag down. So then they let go, and they bite again and drag down. So that's why, like on his elbow, the top mark on the top of his elbow is deeper than the bottom mark because he's dragging down. Same thing with his wrist. So I totally believe that is a bite mark and claw marks on his arms.
Good point.
There's quite a few people. Sorry, there's quite a few people saying that there's movement in court.
I don't see any.
I can be the fan if you'd like. Does that help?
Oh, there we
The
go.
only fan.
It's an improvement.
Whoa! For that Paul, let me just.
Michael.
It's been nice. Larissa and Selena, go ahead in that order.
Missing 4 o'clock today.
Sorry.
The court was leaving at 4 o'clock today because the jury needed to leave at 4 on the bus. So if it's 4 o'clock, that's why there's room at the court.
The jury must be like, I'm out.
Okay. So I'm Larissa. I'm from Nashville as well. And I wanted to pop in because my dad was actually a fatality investigator for the Nashville Police Department for 3 years. And he specialized actually in pedestrian fatalities that were hit and runs. And he was an expert all over the country. So I gave him just the evidence that the prosecution presented. And my dad was like, there's no way a car did this damage to this man. He's like, the math doesn't math. The wounds on the arm, the only photos he saw of John were the arm. He said that is absolutely an animal attack. But we talked about the force and the velocity and what damage you would expect to see to the vehicle, what damage you would expect to see to the body. None of that matched what his experience in 35 years of being an expert witness were. And then on top of that, unfortunately, we have a friend whose son was hit and killed by a car at around 30 miles an hour, which is not that much faster than what they're talking about with John O'Keefe. And he was hit and killed. And the car that hit him sustained significant damage to the front end of her vehicle. It was just an unfortunate accident that she didn't see him in the road, and it was dark and he was wearing dark clothing. But a 13-year-old boy who was like 5'5" and weighed probably 125 pounds caused significant damage to a very large SUV that was even larger than this Lexus. So chances are a 6 foot, 175 pound man is also going to, cause significant damage to a 7,000 pound Lexus. So I think that they're not going to find her not guilty. I think she should be not guilty for the record, but I think they're going to come up with some compromised verdict where, just like with the Vanderbilt nurse case, they're going to find her guilty of negligent homicide in some way. But I just wanted to pop in and give my 2 cents of what I had the discussion with my dad.
I think that for the record, I don't think that they can find her guilty on anything. I think they can only find her hung jury because they need to be unanimous in Massachusetts, and to be guilty or not guilty. So if it's anything but unanimous, then it's a hung jury.
Let me pause for just a minute before we go on to, I think, Selena. We still haven't talked to Selena yet. I've got you muted. Somebody had some noise and I started muting people. So wave your hand if you're trying to talk, and I've got you muted. I don't know how this works because we have mods from multiple channels that are on here. I don't know, I think only comments that I click show up on my stream, and only comments that you click show up on your streams for those that are looking in chat. Just a clarification. And I saw a whole bunch of mods that I didn't
see
know.
no comments.
Well, I'll put Mel's up here.
So
there's Mel's.
When I got a super chat, it came up on yours automatically without me clicking it. And then if I reply in StreamYard, it only replies on my live stream, I think, because I'm not seeing it on yours. Okay. So I don't know.
Sounds good. Well, I think it's working. Anyway, Selena, I'm going to unmute you here. I think there was a little audio problem. Just 1 second. Unmute. There we go. Welcome. And what are your thoughts?
Hey, is the audio problem okay now?
It's working.
All right. Of course, I'm usually on the minority. Hi, Jordy, minority friend. But I can't get to guilty on this one. I started out feeling that way in the beginning, and I just kept waiting for the prosecution to come up with the smoking gun, and I just don't think they have. But now the jury's taking so long, I'm wondering if there is going to be a hung jury. That just keeps popping into my head for some reason. I don't think there is a conspiracy. I have issues with that, how there could be so many people involved in a conspiracy, like, the defense and some of the others out there believe. But I don't personally believe that, but I just don't think they presented enough evidence to convict her as guilty. And I personally think she was involved in it in some way, but yeah, there's too much reasonable doubt.
Can I
So.
ask? Can I ask a question about that? People keep bringing that up about the number of people in a conspiracy. So, being from Massachusetts, we have lived through huge conspiracies. In the most recent one being the Mass State Police stealing from the retirement funds of their own police officers, and that was a huge team of their own administration and staff people that was just covered about 4 or 5 years ago. Um, and then also we lived through the whole conspiracy of the Catholic Church hiding priests, and that was a huge conspiracy, and that was a number of people that knew about it. So you know, a town where you have generations of family members owing you promises and connection. How is that? How is that so far fetched?
So you're saying there's a culture of mistrust right now.
Oh,
Well,
Massachusetts, yes.
to be honest, I think Christy would be best to speak about it. She's from Massachusetts. I didn't even know about this retirement fund thing. This is news to me. I don't like it. It doesn't sound good. But like I said, I think Christy would be the expert on this. The people that live in Massachusetts would be the ones to know. Maybe it is easy to do a conspiracy. Some of us, it may not be think it's as easy in other states, but I don't know. A small town, it's very easy in a small town, and that is what Canton seems to be, is a smaller town. It's not far-fetched.
I mean, like, think of your towns that you live in. This town only has 23,000 people in it. But
That's my town.
It's considered a major hub because it has a huge train station to Boston that goes also to Providence, Rhode Island, and a huge subway station that goes to Boston. So it feels like a huge hub, and it's well known, but it only has 23,000 residents.
There's someone from Canton in chat.
Bring them up. Come up.
Any.
Who's
we want the Canton people in here.
We have a link in the
I
description of
live
the video
at
on
the same
the
number of
recovery addicts.
people as Canton, so I understand the way this is playing with the small town community. I live close to San Antonio, Texas. Not that close, but close enough. So I've been in the big cities, lived there. But I see a lot of the same mentality in the small town.
Let me welcome Chrissy, by the way.
Hi, how you guys
We've got
doing?
Christy and Chrissy now. Welcome. Let me say this. I'll explain one more time. On the Recovery Addict channel, you might be seeing this several different places. I know because there are a lot of people that are sharing this on their own channels, which is great. But on the Recovery Addict channel, if you click in the description, there is a link that will get you straight to StreamYard, so you can join. If you've never been on YouTube, that's fine. It's painless. I promise we don't bite. So all we ask is that you're in a quiet place and you're very respectful, both in what you show on the screen and what you say. And we'd love to hear your opinion. So if somebody, you have a cell phone or something like that, you can click the link with that and you can connect. So let me answer this question really quickly, then we'll go to Chrissy. Recovery Addict, can you explain what a hung jury is? A jury's job is to reach a conclusion, a verdict. And generally that's unanimous in most cases. Where all of them agree that either yes, they did it, or no, they did not do it. And there are some different charges they get to consider and lesser includeds and all that. But if a jury is not able to perform their job, that they can't all come to the same agreement, that is a hung jury. And a hung jury is, by definition, a mistrial. It means the court has to start over from the beginning. So that if a jury, depending on the state you're in, the process for reaching hung jury is a little different. Sometimes they have dynamite charge or an Allen charge they'll issue where the judge sternly tells them to try again and try harder. Other times they just let it stand. But if the jury can't reach a conclusion unanimously, it'll be hung. Chrissy, let's let's go to you really quickly. Where are you from? And quick thought about
Salem,
that.
Mass.
Salem. Oh, wonderful.
So, yes, with the accents, we just drop the R's.
Yes.
Keep it simple. The more mad we get, the worse it becomes.
Mhm.
100% right. As far as your kids, trust me, I have a 26-year-old. Hers is strong. My
I'm just leaning
brother-in-law-
in because the way to learn accents is to like watch how someone's mouth moves. So I'm trying to watch when you guys talk so that I can learn to do the accent because it's so hard.
My brother-in-law, my late brother-in-law, was a Boston police officer. So I come to this with kind of a unique outlook. He was one of the primary detectives in the Whitey Bulger case. Corruption is real. It's been generational through the Boston Police Department for many, many years. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, no, that can't happen. Yes, it can, and it does on the regular. I mean, there's an ongoing joke, telephone, telecop, telefriend. You know, that's how it goes. The police department has a high distinction in Boston, and it's very well known that there is a lot of corruption. I mean, if you go looking back 30 years ago, that was when Whitey Bulger was going on. Go further than that. I mean, an offshoot of this is the Sandra Birchmore case.
We have movement in the courtroom.
Same officers involved, some of the same medical examiners. I mean, there's a lot, and it needs to be investigated.
If you guys hold on, we got movement in the courtroom here.
It's probably just them dismissing.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing here.
The judge just said they're
I
done.
so wish there was a verdict.
Oh, me too.
But you know what? Rather than take I'd rather them take their time because then it solidifies it. Then if it comes back too fast, then it's a lot more, you know.
I mean,
less
speaking,
respect, for lack of a better word.
speaking as a resident of Massachusetts, I mean, for us, the big thing was the experts.
Yes.
You know, you have someone that doesn't have any skin in the game. That's who you pay attention to, because if there's skin in the game, you're gonna assume that there could be corruption.
Well, I was
What do you think about Lucky?
I thought Lucky was very simple. He was a very simple person, and it took a lot for him to tell what he.
What did y'all think of the order in which they presented the evidence on the prosecution side? A witness in the order in which they did it. It didn't feel good to me.
Horrible.
For me, I felt like the prosecution from the jump has been scattered at best. At best, scattered.
They were more.
This isn't a verdict.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
this isn't a verdict, and I'm sure it's probably not because it's 15.
Yeah, the judge said they just want to go home. The jury had said they want to go home by 4. It looks like they want to get out a little early, and they were delayed last time once they said we wanted to go home.
They got somewhere to be.
Yeah.
I got a
I
question
think
for the
I'm
panel,
gonna hop
but
off then.
All right, we'll see you, Vicky. Thank you.
All
I got a
right,
question for the
bye.
panel, but especially Christy and Chrissy. Okay, so it's going to be aimed at you two because you're in Massachusetts. All right. So, and
All right.
everybody just play pretend
Hang on.
with me for a minute.
Hold on. Let's listen to the judge real quickly.
Okay.
We hear nothing.
Yeah, Scott, we hear nothing.
You can't hear. Oh my.
No, I
goodness.
just turned my TV up too.
Okay.
Boomer.
So she just said, "You want to go home? You want to go home for the day?" I'm running my audio through the wrong.
Did you understand
She
my
just sent
sign
him home.
language?
She just sent him home for the day. I'm hearing the court, and it sounds beautiful. They're playing
Sounded
choir
beautiful.
music. Angels are singing. Just kidding.
I love your sign language, Ada. I love that you're doing that.
The jury went home for the day.
I'm in-
They're going to come back again tomorrow morning. Thal, go ahead with your question really quickly.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we've got Jackson, the defense lawyer. He's from California. Yanetti's from Boston. Okay, and for those of you who don't know, the Google Maps is showing Dedham is looks to be about an hour or two away from Boston, so far enough. Population town of 25,000, and Karen is from Mansfield, Massachusetts. So technically all quote unquote outsiders of this little town. So if on the jury we got a couple of you're outsiders, stay out of my town, how do we think that those jurors might take, and this might be what's holding it up, you might have folks saying you're from out of here, calling our cops and our people corrupt. Who the heck are you? You know what I mean? And maybe there's some vitriol against that motif, that standard the defense is putting out to the jury. How likely do you think that is, Chrissy and Christy?
For me, I can unequivocally state that okay, my best friend is a retired officer. I called him with this case and said, what do you think? He's like, we would never act like this. But I can see it happening in a small town where there's generations and generations. You know, a perfect example is me. I've lived in Salem for 3 generations that I can recall. So I said to him, I'm like, if we were drinking and I could see me lying for you. So that's where I went with it.
So I understand Norfolk County, they're at the county courthouse.
Yes.
Yes.
They're not at the courthouse. So the people on the jury are all from the county of Norfolk. So they're from every town or city that's in that county.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but
example,
we're pretending they're all from Dryden, though, for the sake of this theoretical experiment.
So I'm I wouldn't think that they, and I'm a since Yannetti is quote unquote a Boston lawyer, I don't know if he's ever tried court here in front of this judge.
I can answer that. Mr. Yannetti has an office in Salem. He's tried many cases throughout the Commonwealth.
Oh, wow. So he's everywhere.
I'm also a constable, so I kind of...
So I have a
I
question.
can put my hand on a Bible and say he's tried in various courts.
Thank
you.
I have a question since we have 2 people from Massachusetts in here. So we know that Alan Jackson is from California.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing is, how do you ladies read him? Does he come off cocky to you, or do you like his personality? I think that's what the jury is thinking too.
I like his personality. I like his storytelling. I needed it to be in a story. I wanted him to do a timeline for me. I was I was excited that there was a timeline presented, but I was kind of mad Lolly did it. I knew of Jackson from didn't he do the famous guy down in down in Cape Cod? He did.
Yes.
He did
it was like he got him off on it was like a texting issue that they had.
Yeah.
It was the news reporter's child.
Yes, and he was accused, the famous guy that was on like an HBO show was accused of touching somebody down in Cape Cod. So he came from California because he's an actor accused in Cape Cod. What the heck? Why can't I think of his name?
I know who you're talking about, but don't ask me names.
I can't help at all. I have no clue.
Okay.
But it was a huge case around here.
Kevin
Are
Spacey?
you talking about the famous producer, Weinstein?
No, that was the other
Spacey.
he did. What?
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
Oh,
Thank you, RA.
Chat had it all over in chat, and I was not looking. Everyone's for the last like 30 seconds. People have been saying Kevin Spacey.
So I've heard
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, so I've heard of Alan Jackson's name before, but like I don't follow the pop culture court cases. but I've heard of his name before, so it wasn't surprising that he was here again in Massachusetts.
See, I'm kind of, I'm not the right one to ask because I spend a lot of time, or I used to spend a lot of time in the courthouses. But I wasn't, I think he's smooth as butter. You know, he could sell an Eskimo ice.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it's not like he's not really in the South. I don't know how he'd come off in the South. You'd have to be super smooth. But as far as Boston, I think you can be a little bit more abrupt and really get away with it. You know, because I kind of compare Boston to Jersey a little bit as far as for attitudes and I think you can be a quite straightforward between the two, which is a great thing because I find that Alan is quite straightforward. I mean, although I think they pick and chose very well as to which witnesses they were going to be harsh on and which ones they weren't, and which ones they kind of just let go, which I was so glad that they did that on certain experts or certain witnesses. They just kind of let it go.
Like Kerry Roberts and the Dayton police officer, they didn't even cross them.
Right.
I think they meticulously thought it through. It's like, what have you honestly take what the prosecution used for time and compare it to what the defense did?
I mean, seriously, I have no bias towards them. I think they did a perfect case. And how wonderful was it for two of their experts? They didn't even have to spend money on them. And they got
that was
amazing.
awesome.
They got amazing experts out of it. Like, can you imagine how awesome that is? To get these great people that were hired by the federal government instead to be your witnesses, and you don't even have to spend money on it, and they're on your side.
But that was my favorite line of the entire trial was when Dr. Wolf was on the stand, and he was like, "Oh, you built a cannon." He was like, "Pretty cool, pretty cool."
It's like, yep, that's my job. That's what I do.
I got another question for the panel, real quick.
Go ahead, voice of Thal.
So since we have the FBI witnesses coming in, what do you guys think the chances are that the FBI has their little search engines running around in internal affairs for the Canton State Police Department, or the Massachusetts State Police Department, going, how deep does this go? Because if they're going after corruption, if the FBI is going after corruption, they're not going to stop with one or two guys. They're going to follow that sucker all the way to the roots through all the little layers, and they're going to pull them all at once, because it's usually what they do, and they're going to try a RICO case. So I'm sitting here wondering how far does this thing go if in fact, and it's a big if in fact that's what the FBI is doing.
Well,
So you're saying
Lally's not
Young Thug, RICO,
Oh, yeah.
edition? Is that,
Oh God, no! Oh God, no! Hope not.
No trial is that much of a mess. No trial.
This judge would lose her marbles. Are you kidding me?
It would be federal, so we wouldn't be able to watch it. But.
I truly believe that judge is just loving the notoriety, and he's gonna he's risked his job for it, and that's just how that's gonna go for him. When it comes to the FBI, I think they're doing way more than we ever could know, and that's how I always think with them. So you bet your bottom dollar everybody's being investigated. And if you think your text messages and your multimedia messages are safe, you are sadly mistaken when it comes to them. That's just how I feel about it.
Do you understand that Lally is not the lead district attorney?
Mm-hmm.
That it's Morrissey, and he was taken off of the case after
and he gave that speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what's the speech?
But
actually, it's a really good point. That might go to explain why it seemed like the prosecution's case, as far as the witnesses go, was just thrown at spaghetti like at a wall. Because if he came in and took it over, and he's trying to piece this mess together, you know what I mean? Then it almost makes sense that he was kind of like, "What am I working with?" Because that's what it smells like.
The Morrissey name is so interesting to me because, I mean, that's who's trying Alec Baldwin in New Mexico. So when I hear that name, I kind of get confused as to which Morrissey are we talking about? Because they both have the same name. But I love that prosecutor. I love her. I know other people may not, but I thought she did quite a great job.
She's rough, man. I've seen the pre-trial stuff with her. Dude, she don't play. She's woof.
Yeah, I mean,
if we go to trial, there's gonna be fights like knockdown, drag out. It's gonna be great.
This will be a
She
great
does not
trial.
take. She doesn't take no nonsense.
These are some good attorneys that Alec has. So
it's going to be crazy. The judge allows so much banter in that court as well. I mean,
that's true.
You can pretty much insult somebody's mom and get away with it in that court, and we're going to see that. Even the pretrial hearings have been pretty spicy, so it's going to be crazy. Jumping back to Karen Reed really quickly,
Semi well behaved, Thal. Really, semi well behaved.
Did I change your name there? Sorry about
that.
It was a typo. The going back to Karen Reed trial, the jury's now deliberated for a full day plus a little bit. What do we conclude from that? I will say that from this we can tell that there is a holdout, or at least we have people on both sides. This is not them going through and saying, well, let's just look at all the evidence from scratch and reread everything. They've taken their initial poll. They know who's on what side, and now they're starting to talk things through and reason it out. The jury has not seen what we have seen. Hopefully, they've not seen the craziness that's been on Twitter. That's been on. Well, they've got some idea, I'm sure, going to the courthouse. How do you get to the courthouse and not see some of what's going on outside? But they haven't followed the story like we have, and hopefully, also they don't know a lot of the preliminary stuff that went on here. So, what do we think that they're holding their positions as firmly as some of us are after watching inside and outside of court for this many weeks?
I personally think they'll be questioning things like, what is this other entity? Who ran these tests? You know what? So the defense didn't run it, the prosecution didn't run it. Who's this third party? I think that's going to put into motion the entire conspiracy theory, and then they're going to be battling each other with that.
Yeah, it's going to be. I hope, fingers crossed, this jury needs to speak afterwards. We need to hear from them, and we have 3 jurors have been excused. Have any of them talked yet?
I know Aiden was looking to talk to one of them, but I don't think he has yet.
I think that they need to talk. We've been able to talk for 9-10 weeks. They haven't been able to speak. So I think they need to talk and process and go back through their notes and try to reread what they wrote and understand what they were writing about.
Christy, I think you're 110% right. And I think part of this is that Lally put on such a long case.
Yeah.
With so many different witnesses. From his opening arguments, he said, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. So they were probably hyper-focused on details.
And today they for evidence from the search team that
they didn't have.
They weren't given, and they're like, well,
why can't we have it?
Right. And
it doesn't exist.
Right.
So I think they will come to their own conclusions. I don't know whose dog barked, but thank you. You set mine off.
My new dog barking, and she's making someone else bark.
That's my picture. It's making the dogs bark. I apologize.
I'm going to jump down because my 2 are going absolutely crazy. But
right.
As far as
thank you, Chrissy.
We're good.
Love the accent. Thank you very much for coming and sharing.
Take care, guys. I love you.
Thanks, Chrissy. Love you. Bye. But yeah, I talked to the state patrol guy I know from back in the day, and I live in Nebraska, by the way. It's just so everybody knows where I'm at. And I talked to a sheriff's department guy that's in the next town over, and both of them basically told me when I told them about the Karen Reed trial, especially about Proctor and about Paul. About Proctor, both of them said that sometimes they can. It depends if a cop is hit. You know what I mean? People tend to get a little bit spicy about that. But as far as what he was saying to his friends and how they came back to him and he just kept going while the investigation is going, and that seemed to be the key point both of them brought up, while an investigation is going, we don't talk to our friends about this. We don't talk to our family about this. That is, they both said flat out, that's incredibly improper. You don't do that. You know what I mean? And then the second thing is they said, as far as Paul goes, that they would never let Paul get near a witness stand nor be the lead crime scene investigator. It would never happen, because they were like, no. So even in Nebraska, people are, the cops are just shaking their heads like, this would not happen around here. That's crazy. So
I have two things real quick. So one, my friend sent me his theory.
Braxton, you just gave us all the Vickers. Do you know how many people we have? You gave us the V, which is
the French are very upset right now.
the British. No, it was funny. I just had to call you out on that one. Braxton's a good friend. Go ahead, Braxton. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. That was great. So my friend sent me his theory.
But real quick, Braxton, don't worry.
Yeah.
The French are upset with you, but they'll just raise a white flag and run away as soon as you come at them. So just,
I'm going to have to change your name again, Thal.
Oh.
Go ahead, Braxton.
All right. So my friend who's also watching this stream sent me his theory. But have we considered that the 170-pound man might have been wrapped in super fast water-soluble bubble wrap, protecting the car from deformation? So he was wrapped in bubble wrap, obviously, and then it melted.
It takes that sort of level of. I mean, we're right next to little green men. Seriously, to make this thing work, we almost have to say, well, it could have been aliens at this point to put these pieces together. But you have to out your friend. Who's your friend? First name only.
Ben.
Ben, don't be a chicken. Come on, Ben. Come join us.
Ben, he weighed 217 pounds.
There you go.
They said it.
We just had a raid from Broken Baker. Welcome. It's awesome to have you guys join us.
The other topic I want to bring up real quick is, what are our thoughts on the best defense witness, the ME?
You mean Dr. Sheridan, the Irish guy?
The one who filled out the death certificate?
Oh, it was a prosecution witness.
Oh,
it was the ME.
The state
was
ME,
also the best witness for the defense.
I like the part that I drew from her testimony was when she was asked if she felt any pressure to rule on the death certificate one way or another. And she's like, was there any pressure from, Michael Proctor to say it was a homicide? And she's like, no, none whatsoever. I just told him that this is my job and I'm going to follow the evidence where it leads me. And so the answer initially sounds like, no, that conversation didn't exist. But then she gives her response that was given in that conversation, which means there was at least a conversation, even if it wasn't, a thumb screws pressure. There was a conversation saying it would really be helpful if you could you find this the way we see it, and she wouldn't. So that was telling.
Yeah, and
not to mention
go ahead,
all of the ones where the defense is like, well, is that possible? And she's like, well, I mean, it's possible. Like, the reactions were all you needed. Those were her actual answers. The actual answers were not the answers. When the defense is like, so could he have been hit by a car? And she's like, it's possible. It's...
Yeah, and if Braxton, it felt like me, onto your point there, it really felt like me that she was saying, look, I don't have evidence of either way, so I got to be honest. I'm going to do my job. You know what I mean? Because that's my integrity. So I'm not going to betray that. But at the same time, she also had that you could almost feel coming off her of, hey, I got to work with these guys after you leave. Okay, I still got to work with the local PD. I still got to work with the state police. I still got to work with the DA. So I'm not going to go full vulture on them. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end my career. I do that one way or another. They'll get me. You know what I mean? They'll make my life hard. So
we've seen plenty of professional witnesses, expert witnesses that will give their swan song presentation. Their what is it? The last presentation, the last one it's the swan song, right? Mm-hmm. They basically sell their soul for the last one, and they testify to something that just is so ridiculous that their credibility going forward is nil. It's zilch. She wouldn't do that.
Well, and I'm not even mad at Lolly about the presentation he had to perform, because again, I see Lolly's place in this whole thing, not as a bad guy, but more of a guy doing his duty, and he's just left holding a bag. He's just left holding a mess. And what else can he do? He can resign. He's got to try the case. You know what I mean? Even if he doesn't believe in it, he's got to do his thing. You know what I mean?
And his boss is still Morrissey, and his boss. It's up to his boss whether or not they dismiss the case, and he's got to do his job under his boss.
Yeah. So whether he believed it or not, I think is immaterial for Lolly. I think it's just like the ME. They're put in a position where I've got to do this now. And the place, the whole part where the whole case falls apart for me is the investigation. Because again, like we talked about before, RA, if I'm sitting in a jury box and I'm going, okay, well, could it hit him? Could it not hit him? I don't know. Let me go back to the evidence and look at the investigation. Well, surprise, boys and girls, that's all muddled. So now where do I go? Got nowhere to go.
Of the prosecution, my sister, she was like all upset about how Jackson did the closing, and she was like, I wish he would have just did it this way. And I'm like, who cares about Jackson? He's the defense. He's supposed to poke holes. It's about the prosecution. The prosecution is supposed to convince you that Karen Reed hit him with her car, whether she did it intentionally, neglectedly, or with a DUI. The number one thing is they are supposed to convince you she hit him with her car. She killed him with the car. And the prosecution couldn't do that. And so whether or not Jackson, was smooth as butter or not, it's about the prosecution doing their job, showing you the truth, and convincing you that she committed a crime. And Lolly didn't do it.
We could trade Lolly for Jackson and have the same facts, and we'd still be at the same place.
Right, because evidence is there.
Yeah, like
they use solo cups.
Well, the Lolly, the thing where Lolly really lost me in closing was I was like, okay, he's working with what he's got. He can't really poke holes in the defense, what the defense is saying. So he's working with what he's got. He's telling his story good. And then we get to the part where the elbow and the light, and it's like he goes, in my perception or whatever he said was the elbow went in the light. So you gotta figure that. And I was like, dude, did you just go trust me, bro, in a murder trial?
With a different
that's what that
theory of
screamed at me. I was sitting there like, what are you doing? You don't get a trust me, bro. It's a trial.
It goes hand in hand with some of the witnesses they called, where you thought this is the worst witness you could ever have for this, and then Trooper Paul comes along and says, "Hold my beer," and we just, oh man, it's been crazy. For those that we've had a couple comments. Ada K, a guest on the panel here, she's got her own YouTube channel. She's signing everything. That's what she does. She follows true crime and signs, and she's not signing this, so maybe she can't hear me. But no, just kidding.
I can hear you.
But if you like this sort of thing, if you like true crime and want,
I think still watching
and want sign language, go check out her channel, Ada K Brown, and she's amazing. I'm not sure. Christy Braxton, I know Thal has a channel that has nothing to do with true crime. It's Warhammer 75,000. What's the number again? 40,000?
Yeah, it's Warhammer 40K, baby. It's the best 40K. Thing on the planet.
Okay, it's a computer game, which I was addicted to. Yes.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Anyway, we've also had Vicky on the channel. She was here for a while. She's got her own channel. She just barely reached the threshold, so she has memberships on her channel. It's awesome for those that are supporting her there.
Congratulations.
We've had a couple other people. Who else was on that are on YouTube? I don't remember. Ivan was on. Ivan has his own channel where he does a show where he talks without filters. I'll say that right here. Usually Sunday afternoons, where he has, talks about some of the present issues, and he's always entertaining that way. So big shout out to some of the guests and people who came on. Plus, a lot of the people who came on and just shared their thoughts. Might have been the first time they've ever been on a YouTube show. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm not going to take your whole evening. I was going to wrap up. Did anyone want to wrap up with some thoughts? Ada, do you want to go ahead?
I just want to say I hit 330 subscribers today. And last night I covered the Canton meeting, and I got my first live that hit 3,500 views. Other than that, it's been like 200. So
those Canton meetings are going to be gold. Keep showing those Canton meetings, because they're just a circus.
I was surprised, but yes. But thank you, RA. I have my camera working, but for today it won't work. So I'll be calling you.
All right. That sounds good. We'll help you out with that.
Thank you for
Braxton, as always, great tech resource for me, and great analysis of just an observant mind. Appreciate that. Thal comes in with the voice of God from the sky and the pug picture. Appreciate that, with some great questions for our witnesses. And Christy, thank you. Still
I do not have
local.
a channel, but my son has a gaming channel called God of Games 17.
There you go. YouTube connects us all.
Yes.
I wanted to say thank you to all of you. I guess we're going to sort of be doing this again tomorrow night. We have a podcast here on this channel. Weather Watch and I do. It's sort of like this because we never know where it's going to go. It's a little wild, crazy. It has opportunities for you guys to participate live in chat like we do here. So I invite you to come join us tomorrow night. That's Thursday night at 8 p.m. on the Recovery Addicts channel.
And remember, RA, if anything goes wrong in your day, big or small, today or tomorrow or throughout your life, blame Weather Watch.
There you go. That's a running joke. If you're not laughing and don't understand that one, it's a running theme on the channel between Thal.
Can I blame him for this?
Blue screen of death. Is that what I'm seeing there?
Yeah.
Now it's important, kids, that you can't hold Weather Watch accountable for anything. That's not how it works. You can blame him for anything, though. That's how it works. He gives us someone to
nice
blame.
to meet you.
You too, hon.
Thanks, Recovery Addict.
Thank you, Ada. We'll talk afterwards. We'll see you.
Nice meeting you guys. I'll see you later.
We'll see you, Thal.
Bye.
Braxton, it's just you and me, and you're leaving me now. So, well, I thought you said bye like you were leaving. So, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. This has been a lot of fun. It's always cool when we have people who can think and share ideas that are different than mine, and different perspectives. And you guys are great at doing that. So, good luck with your blue screen of death.
What I find is being able to critically think about all sides and take into account things that one side may not like to be taken into account. Like, what angles can we look at it from, and how can we develop theories based on that?
Yeah.
And what are the possible theories? I may not agree with some of the theories I throw out there, but
there's a lot of impossible theories, and one of them was shared by Lally, in my opinion. So that's
Lally made a few.
Well, now I have to rethink it now that he said that the arm can bend at the elbow. I was this is a new idea. The arm could have been like this. Wow. Braxton is a cool cat. We like you. Braxton, thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Enjoy finishing up work. We'll talk to you again soon. See you, man.
Bye.
Bye. All right. I think we've got everybody there. All right. So let me go back to my normal setup. Oop, that doesn't work very well. Let's do DVE inputs 1. There I am. All right. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. This is what we do every day, sort of. Turn that off. There. All right, so I'm going to wrap up now tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I love talking to you guys. I love to listen to this. I want to do it again. I'd love to have some differing opinions. Lastly, shout out to your Callaway golf shirt. Weather Watch, I should have worn this tomorrow. It is a Callaway golf shirt. I don't think I could ever spot a Callaway club if it hit me in the forehead, but it is a Callaway golf shirt. I liked it because it was on sale at Sam's Club. Steve says, shoot, I was just entering StreamYard. I'm sorry, Steve. I'm sorry. We might do another panel because we are sort of between court cases. We're going to keep watching a little bit on the Karen Reed case, as always. We have a hearing tomorrow with Brian Koberger. That's going to be a status hearing, probably not a full day hearing. That's going to start right around noon, 1 o'clock our time, East Coast. We've got a few others coming up as well. We're watching for updates in Corey Richens. We have a hearing coming up at the end of August. I'll be present in Park City for that one, so we'll bring that to you. We'll keep an eye on Sarah Boone and the letter writing, her lawyer trying to quit, all this stuff. There will be much more tomorrow, so please join us again tomorrow morning. Tonight, when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow morning about 8:45-ish. So appreciate it. Thank you all very much. This is the first time I've streamed on Twitter as well for a long time. So shout out to everyone who was over there on Twitter. Thank you. Appreciate you all as well. Thanks to my mods. I threw this on them without any warning, and they just ran with it and did a great job. They're absolutely amazing. I owe them everything. Be good to each other. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.
Because he's the guy.